All right, everyone, welcome to the numero uno political podcast in the country. And of course, we're very happy now. We're now more or less regular in the top 100 Spotify podcast, among others. And we're, of course, with one of the top-notch guys in the country when it comes to any discussions on lifestyle, Bitcoin, major ADHD all over the place. But obviously, the context of our collaboration and friendship is, the emergence of this guest of ours as one of the no-nonsense voices in last year's elections. And I'm sure he was perhaps as surprised by the positive reception as anyone else. It looks like there is an appetite for that kind of no-nonsense discussion. Thank you very much, Chris Tan, for joining us.
Hey, Richard, kumusta? And kumusta to all your viewers and all your followers. Yeah, Richard, actually, I've been following your posts and your interviews on CNN about politics and everything. You're one of the sane voices that I've heard in this space. So it's an honor to be a part of this podcast, man.
Thank you very much, bro. I mean, I appreciate people like you also doing what you're doing. So let's not overdo this bromance. Baka mamarites tayo. I think there was a lot of creepy responses to yung pinost natin, yung mga picture natin. Parati ako napapahamak. Okay, let's go right into it. Chris Tan, of course, many of your followers know you for your no-nonsense interventions during last year's elections. And, correct the perception. Like there was a perception that perhaps of course you love the country and all, but perhaps it looks like the pink side was a little bit closer to your idea of a sane politics than the alternatives, like, if I could put it that way. So first, Kristan, who is Kristan? Medyo Tito Boy Abunda style. Who is
No,
Kristan?
so really, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. Tapos this vlog was something that I just wanted to do because siguro for the longest time, I knew naman that marunong ako mag-communicate. I can communicate ideas very well. And then I wanted to be able to help people. It started with me being a life coach. Tapos I was spewing out advice on YouTube. And one of the things that I do is a thought bubble. I talk about politics, current events, societal issues. And one day, I decided to speak in Tagalog. Doon nag-umpisa lahat. Doon ko na-realize na, wow. So, and what was ironic was, kahit na nagtatagalog ako, maraming mga nanonood sa akin from different countries like the United States, mga Pinoys in Dubai, in Singapore, in Europe. And it was so fascinating na when I spoke Tagalog, the more I connected with people. Kaya that's where it all started. Now, politics-wise, people think, like you mentioned nga, that I'm pink or dilawan. What they don't know is I didn't vote for Pinoy. I actually didn't like Pinoy, but I do appreciate what he's done for the country. And then when the election time came along, I had very strong opinions kasi towards the candidates. And binase ko lang talaga yan on which candidate I thought was the best in terms of a criteria. And yun. Tapos, it's interesting lang kasi I think people will perceive you or me or anyone according to their own biases. Yan yan, may bias ka talaga eh. You're gonna see things through your own lens. And people saw what they wanted to see in the message I was trying to deliver. I do believe Lenny is the best candidate. But one thing that people were surprised is nung tinanong ako what I thought would happen if BBM won, I actually didn't paint a doom and gloom picture. I actually even said na, and I didn't post it until after he won because I didn't want anyone to parang siguro maybe switch or anything. But I did say it na I don't think BBM was going to be as bad as his father. I think BBM is not, I think he's just a spoiled brat na who just it's an ego thing. Being president is an ego thing for him, and that's it. So after that, tuloy-tuloy na. And suddenly people were just following me and I was like, wow. And they just wanted to hear my take on different topics, whether politics or showbiz or whatever it may be. And that's how it all started.
Wait. Speaking of, we'll go to the entrepreneur part when we'll do the podcast episode on Bitcoin, maybe, because this is at the cutting edge of entrepreneurship these days.
Oh yeah.
But let's talk about showbiz. If I'm not mistaken, like if you go to YouTube and put Chris Tan, things pop up from 9 years ago, yung mga umagang kay ganda, yung mga ganun.
Yep.
Was that a reality show? I'm sorry, I don't want to bring back Who Got Memories and all, but let's do it.
Yeah.
Was that a dating reality show you were part of? Before we go to
Yeah.
the Pinoy episodes, yeah.
So for 15 years, I was actually a producer of TV shows. A lot of people don't know that. I produced TV shows on different networks like ABC5 pa nung time na yon, hindi pa nga TV5. MTV, Studio 23, GMA. So I did a lot of TV shows for a lot of different networks. Tapos noon in 2015, I decided na parang, oh, why not go in front of the camera naman? So ayun, so I got in. One day, I got a call. Sabi lang, would you be interested in going on a reality show with my girlfriend that time? And sabi ko, yeah, why not? It's a good experience. It's something I wanted to experience as well. So I tried it out. Okay naman. And then after that, they just started inviting me for all these different shows.
Wait, Chris, sorry. What was this show again? I mean, if you could
It's
refresh
called I
my-
Do.
Okay. So can you give us an idea? What was the concept? What was the idea behind it?
So the concept of the show was they got these couples, parang 8 of us, I think, or 9, who wanted to get married. Tapos, the winner will get the wedding of their dreams, 1 million pesos, a house and lot, a business, the works, shebang, and the lights and all the glamour in it. Yeah, so that's what happened. And then when I was at the finals na, ako yung nag-back out. Ayun.
Oh, wait, because you thought you might win it?
Yeah, actually
Oh,
probably
wow.
would have won it. And I realized I didn't want to get married that time. So ayun.
I mean, of course, I'm not sure, like there's a way around it, right? Like you get the prize and then like you find a quack lawyer to sign some notary. I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah, well,
you can be entrepreneurial about it. Sorry,
yeah,
the
but
in me is just wondering sayang yung prize.
well, I never really did it kasi for the price. It was really because I just wanted I wanted to get married and I wanted to do it in the most unique way possible. So I thought, oh, this would be a good way. And then but in yung sa siguro mga 1 month ata kami naka-lock in Yung 1 month na yon para kang nag couples weekend pero 1 month. Then you realize talaga in that
Kakalaman
one.
na. Yeah.
Oo, marami kami na-realize about ourselves and we just ended up as friends after that.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring out the hugot and all of that. Just wanted a refresher. Was this also the time na sumisikat yung mga Chinoy? I mean, like the Korean K-pop and like this is around 10 years ago, right? Because I remember back in the day when I was a kid, it's more like mestizo, Mexicano.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, it's transitioning to mga chinito, mga like, I saw that in my own lifetime, no, yung preferences and all shit. So I'm just saying, like, probably a part of you as a producer felt, hey, maybe there's a niche for me, right? Like to make it big. Yeah.
Well, I never really looked at it na parang kung ano ba yung flavor of the year or the month. Kasi hindi ko talaga napansin ko na meron na, pero hindi yun yung motivation for me. But it's, I'm not complaining. I think it's amazing that K-pop is doing so well and that they're able to export the music and entertainment worldwide. It's fantastic what it can do for Asians. I'm so impressed with what they did. And swerte na lang ako, I guess, na mukha akong, chinito ako. So I can pass as Korean, Japanese, Chinese, whatever. So yun.
No, I mean, the reason I'm asking this, I mean, we'll go into this more in the next episode when we talk about your experience as a Chinoy in this very, charged moment. But, that's, I'm just saying, things are, I mean, as an Asian, I can, pass off as a Mexican, but as an Asian, like I feel finally the Asian men are getting the kind of, appreciation perhaps they deserve. Because we grow up, with all these blonde, blue-eyed men and all as the matinee idol and like, and they're like low quality copycats, and I just felt that's something good. But we can go to that later and perhaps in the next episode. Medyo, I mean, oh my goodness, I don't want to use the term interracial discussions, but let's stick to this. Okay, so ano yung pinakaunang episode na biglang boom, nakita mo grabe yung response at talagang ano yun, parang meron kang instinctive moment na, ay, kailangan ko mag-Tagalog para maka-reach out sa mga tao. And your Tagalog is less Konya than mine. Ako, nakikita na tao, I'm still trying to reach out, but my Ilocano is better than my Tagalog accent-wise. But can you tell me about, what was that first blog na went boom, and then your whole political blogger career started? If I can
So,
put that one, yeah.
yung first vlog ko na talagang pumotok was the one where sinabi ko parang I described kung paano pumili ng kandidato for president, kung ano dapat yung tama. And then I gave the criteria kung ano ba yung hinahanap natin lahat for president to make a good president. And then tuloy-tuloy at the end of it, I was eliminating all the candidates, and then at the end sinabi ko and then it's the title pala was I'm not voting for Lenny Robredo.
Was that a
Yun
clickbait? Knowing that
well,
many of your followers could be pro-Lenny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't do it as a clickbait. I did it more because I was trying to make a point na hindi ko binoboto si Lenny because she's Lenny. I'm voting for her because of the qualifications I was looking for a president. As a matter of fact, I even made a disclaimer na originally I didn't like Lenny. I remember yung first time ko nakita yung post na nagpicture na magbo-bush siya papuntang Naga. And I was like, I don't know, it looks so staged to me. I don't know, there's something that didn't really sit with
I
me.
know what you're saying.
Parang cringy yung dating na yun sa akin. Pero nung then I got to know her better, and then I listened to yung mga sinasabi niya, and I was like, no, this girl's making sense, sabi ko. Plus, kung tinignan mo yung field of candidates naman, alam mo, everyone had their strengths eh. Manny Pacquiao, his heart.
Yeah, Lacson, his experience.
Lacson, yeah, experience,
Like
the
if Duterte
discipline.
did a lot sa Manila in the short time that he had.
Yeah.
Let's
So
give it to them, right?
so I didn't really have anything against any of the candidates. Eh. It was just more of a tignan natin anong meron nila and then process of elimination. And then at the end of it, sabi ko, if you look at it, the complete package was Lenny. The irony was this. I think why it went viral. I think the title, alam mo kasi it's ironic that a lot of people don't read or don't watch the whole video anymore. They look at the headline and then they'll start sharing it based on the headline. So apparently what happened was a lot of the supporters of BBM were sharing my video.
Sabi ko nga, clickbait yan eh.
Trojan
Unintentional
horse
clickbait.
yan. Diba? Trojan horse, kala nila. And then people were watching it and then napapabura yung mga supporters ni BBM sa akin. So I got a lot of bashers. And my own video, I did not get as many views on my own video as the people that shared it on TikTok. Yung TikTok, nakita ko may dalawang account doon that posted it. Each of them got at least 10 million to 15 million. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, business was good. Business was good.
Yeah, and I didn't even post it on my TikTok. So eventually, I went to TikTok after mga 3 or 4 months. Pumasok na rin ako ng TikTok. So that's how it all started. And it was weird. When I woke up and I was looking on my phone was off the hook. It was just bam, 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 notification. At ngayon na, naka-silent na lang ako palagi. There's no more point in putting the notification on kasi otherwise we'll never get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, the geniuses, the PhD in political, in computer science and physics, all of them are working on ways up to hack our mind, right? So like, take out the notification. For me, because I honestly, I see social media as an outlet, not inlet, right? Like it's for me to get the message out, and then I don't want to do anything with this world. Like you cut it out, right? So that's why I can manage it, calibrate it. Not to mention you need digital Sabbath or actual Sabbath. Now let's go back to this. I mean, obviously in my case, I was very apolitical in the sense I was always more concerned about international affairs, global affairs. Those are the things that excited me when I was as young as like a 5-6-year-old. I was talking about Iraq war, etc. So that was really how I grew up. So I always felt about Philippine politics like, oh my goodness, mga dynasties, mga ganun. It's like juvenile, puerile. Like, it gives a bad name to democracy. And sometimes I felt it's like a hopeless case. And then Pinoy came and I felt, okay, something interesting could come here. Although I was half skeptical, half hopeful with Pinoy. And I think his record more or less was mixed, but on the better side of the mix than most of the other leaders. But, I remember very well 2015. The first time I saw Duterte kind of flirting with the idea of presidency, this is like August, July pa lang. And we had a show on Tito Boy, Abunda, Lisandro Claudio, Nicole Corato. All of us were there. And I said, he's a dark horse. Because I always felt there's something in him that can click with with millions of people are just so fed up with
Yep.
traditional nonsense politics. And no, it's because I studied other countries. It happened in Turkey. It happened just now in
Yeah.
Argentina with a
Right.
crazy Elvis Presley looking guy. It happened with with all around India, Narendra Modi, Indonesia. I was there when Jokowi was coming. So I always felt, I mean, yun ang problema sa atin sa mga Pilipino. We think we're too exceptional when in fact, maraming meron sa atin na third world. Meron sa ibang third world countries na nakikita ko. For Argentina, Turkey, India. So I just felt this guy has a chance. And I just felt many people are too dismissive about him. So that's where I began to become like, wait lang, this guy, if he wins, he's gonna change everything. You know, the first interview I watched of him was with Maria Ressa, right? Like our Rappler friends did a lot too, you know, to get him into the. So and the first big event he had was this something like yung my president something events at De La Salle. I used to teach in De La Salle back in the day. So Maria Ressa was the host, and then ang nagpakita lang si Digong and si Cayetano. And I look at this guy, I said, my gosh, he has what it takes to really exploit cynicism and lack of faith and disillusionment. And this is after the Laglag Bala crisis. This is after Sapano. Like everything where goes going to the guy. I felt pa conspiracy theory pa ngayon. Then naalam yung traffic during Apex Summit. So parang I felt this is the right time for this guy. So as early as 2015, I was saying, hey, watch out for this guy. And by January, February, I was convinced he could really win once Binay went down. Now, I've written extensively on all these issues, including the book Rise of Duterte. But my point is, that's where I also discovered something about myself, that actually I care, right? Actually, when I fear there's a fundamental threat to our way of lives or whatever little freedoms we have, I'm someone who cares. And at the same time, of course, I'm not cancel culture type in the case that, you know, many of people close to me voted for Duterte. So I don't think that they're bad people. I just felt maybe they didn't choose the best guy, but I understood where they come from. The grievance, the hurt, and all of that. And the next 6 years is really the story of my career. So both on West Philippine Sea and both on democracy issue, I tried to push back against this guy. So by the time the 2022 elections came, and I was realizing like, my goodness, after Duterte, it's going to be Marcos most likely, right? Like, oh, this is crazy. So I said, the least I can do is to go vlogging and to reach out and, you know, kalog and, you know, make, you know, you probably saw me on CNN International on Poor Fired Zakar, you know, like that Richard Heydarian, right? It's like, okay, that Richard Heydarian has his place there, but is useless more or less there. So let's do something. So that was the context within which Chris, essentially I became this podcaster, right? I had to set up this whole thing and essentially double in, you know, so in your case, what was the thought process? So I gave you a very 5 minutes overview of my thought process, how I became obsessed almost about Philippine politics. I've written 2,000 articles probably on Philippine politics. Wow. The very topic I was completely disinterested in just 7, 8, 9 years ago, I would say, right? I was very interested in West Philippine Sea, foreign policy issues, but domestic politics was always something that I found in the Philippines a little bit too disheartening, disillusion. What is your thought process to like, okay, I do Bitcoin, I do all of these things, you know, I'm a motivation coach, but hey, this is crazy. Like I have to say something about this.
So actually, yung pagpasok ko sa Bitcoin, is very related to politics, and it's very related to governments. It's almost my antithesis to the government. Bitcoin is all about financial. Yeah, it is. It's financial freedom. It's being a sovereign citizen. It's not allowing yourself to be limited to the laws of one country. And it's a big FU to the government, if you really think about it. And I can talk about that a little bit later. No? Pero for now, yung pagpasok ko sa politics is something I've always been interested in. I've always been interested in history, in politics. Even nung panahon ni Pinoy, I would debate with people. Then when Duterte came along, ganun din, I would debate. I was the type that I would not back away from commenting and replying to every single troll and basher out there. And even my friends, if they debate with me, I don't mind. I don't get upset with debates. I love debates. And when I debate with people, I don't debate to win. I debate to understand. Yun yung pagkakaiba sa tingin ko with people. When they debate with me, they think I'm debating para makalamang Hindi. I'm debating so that we can both understand ano ba yung parang common ground natin and where is that middle ground where we can have an understanding. And ang pinaka siguro trigger for me that made me want to talk more about politics was really the rise of this authoritarian government and people like Duterte, who was practically the guy's I don't know. I think he's clinically insane, to be honest with you. I think he's a psychopath.
Ayan na. That was the selling point. Chris, just to be clear, I was contractually obliged not to say something like that. But you know, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, right? Like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. So you felt you have to say it. Call a spade. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
no
And
nonsense.
I know when I say that, I'm not trying to insult anyone. For me, kasi when a person is glib about talking about raping somebody, sexual assault, about killing people, wow, you know, you look into a person's eyes, you can tell if somebody is a murderer, you know, a serial killer. You look into their eyes, you can see their soul or the lack of it. This guy does not have a soul. But I do believe he believes that he is doing what he's doing is good. I do believe that the people supporting him believe that what they're doing is good. And it is insane lang that I see so many people that are mesmerized with this idea na okay lang pumatay kasi masama naman silang lahat. Pero hindi naman natin talaga alam kung masama. Kaya nga may batas tayo, di ba? So, you know, people would say, why do I hate him so much? I don't hate him. Actually, that's the funny part is I don't hate him. You can put any name there. Anyone who murders people and brags about it is not on my good list. It's not a person, it's the idea of it. And what's more fascinating and saddening in this world now is marami sa mga tao ngayon ang hindi na marunong mag-isip ng tama. And that's what's giving rise to authoritarianism all over the
Critical
world, even in the
thinking.
United States.
Oh
Di
yeah,
ba?
of course. It's
Like,
coming
kasi
back. Trump is coming back. Yeah, it's almost
he
more than
probably will
50% chance.
win.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably will win, and he will avenge his last loss and whatever anyone did to him. And it's going to be insane what's going to happen to the world if Trump wins. And for me, this is the problem with yung sa mga tao ngayon. They're not there's wala nang critical thinking. It's gone. So my hope in what I do is that I can somehow instill critical thinking back in people's way of in their mindset and how they look at things. Number one, critical thinking and also self-awareness. Wala na eh. There's no such thing as self-awareness anymore. Eh. People are just zombies now walking on this earth. And they speak as if they believe something, but in reality, it's a borrowed belief because they can never defend what they believe in. That's why you know it's a borrowed belief. And that's the sad part about this society. And if I can change one person's mind by the vlogs I do, kahit na isa lang every day, then I've done my job. And that's why I do it. And that is really my motivation for doing these vlogs.
I mean, for me, my understanding there is that, you know, a lot of people are voting nowadays because they, not necessarily because they want candidate A, but because they hate so much candidate B, C, and D. So, you know, you can call it negative solidarity. I would say, I mean, that's the thing. They gaslight you as hating Duterte, but actually a lot of people who voted for Duterte is because they hate the other candidates. Now, the factual basis of that hate is very questionable. Like, for instance, blaming Aquinos for everything that went wrong in the country. Like, seriously, you forgot 10 years of Arroyo almost, right? You know, who's an ally of the Dutertes. You forgot Era Estrada. And by the way, Ramos was a cousin of Marcos and helped Marcos throughout until, you know, he turned against the guy. So it's and you can make a situational argument that Corazon Aquino was there to clean up the mess of Marcos Sr. with some success, and Aquino was there to clean up the mess of both Erap and Arroyo. And both of them were half successful at best. But to blame them for everything that went wrong, I think that's really the problem. So clearly, this is where the issue of disinformation and lack of critical thinking is coming in. For you, is it social media? I mean, what do you think is contributing to that? Is it overflow of nonsensical information? Are we like drowning in garbage? Is that your concern right now?
So so what happened is, so when social media came about, right? Parang Facebook started 2008, so it started to really proliferate about 2012, 2014, and then 2015 is when it really took off to that next level. And it democratized information. It democratized media. Now, when it's democratized, that means information now is not there's no vanguard to information. There are no how
Gatekeepers,
ABS,
guardrails, yeah,
right, there, yeah, diba? ABS, Rappler, everyone's like, this is vetted information, this is accurate, this is true. Ganun. Wala na lahat yon. Ngayon, information is a free-for-all. The problem is, nobody taught people how to discern information. Kasi we're so used to information being vetted for us. Ito na ang tamang informasyon according to what the newspaper says. And sometimes not even real. And then with the democratization of information, but without teaching us how to discern right information and wrong, and this is where fake news happened. The time of Duterte with Cambridge Analytica, they knew that there was an opportunity to take advantage of people, and they did. Duterte was the first trial before Trump to be able to.
Ground zero, yeah.
Yeah, Duterte was ground zero for Cambridge Analytica, and they said, wow, it works. And then Trump used the same strategy and he won. And then all the other people are now using that same strategy. And then now we're just seeing it now, 6-7 years later, do we realize now, teka, we really have to fight fake news. We can't just be silent. Because do you remember nung panahon ni Duterte no 2015, 2016, when people were debating, we tuned out. I have a lot of friends that said, ayoko na mag-social media. It's a lot of garbage.
Yeah, it's too toxic, yeah.
Right. And they just shut up. Rather than speak out, they shut up because it was too stressful. Now, the difference now is because we know there's fake news. I encourage everyone to speak out, to combat fake news, to call out a troll, to call out people that are spewing BS and lies. And that's needed. That counter is needed. So when I got on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, you know what I noticed on TikTok especially, and you know this, I remember when I got on, I was like, oh my God, nagulat ako how much fake news was on TikTok. It was insane. It was like a different reality.
Cesspool, yeah.
It was. And even the comments. Oh my God, it's the bottom of the, it's the bottom feeders. It's the worst. And I said, my God, I need to be on this network, this social media, because there's nobody else speaking out to counter all this BS on TikTok. So, and oh my God, then TikTok, if you look at all my comments, they're all hate. Because people that would support are afraid to speak out, because if you support, you will get the trolls and the bashers all coming in to make you feel so bad and attack you that to just silence you.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I
I
call
tell
that
people not
poisoning
to.
the well strategy. I call that the poisoning the well strategy. They don't even need to win over or expose us as ridiculous, meaning people of reason or facts. They just, all they need to do is to demobilize people, to make them so, they want people to be allergic to even conversation, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is this, but this is where I'm a little bit self-critical. I think the problem also is a lot of people, especially those who had platforms, columnists for newspapers like yours truly, people who are in the media, etc. I think a lot of us, our mistake was we didn't engage social media because we thought, oh, that's that's not their level. We're this level, right? I'm not gonna go down to their level. And I remember until today, I always see like, Richard, bakit mo dinibate si Banat Bay or si Sasot or whatever? Hindi mo sila ka-level and gano'n. And I said that's exactly the problem. That mindset that we're better than everyone else, we should not engage them. And that's how we've left the field to the enemy. Not to mention, I got bashed a lot for engaging these people or supposedly platforming them. But for me, that's the loser mindset. That's the snowflake mindset.
Yep.
As much, I mean, let them talk and then shut down the nonsense. Not let them talk and then let them get away with fake news. No. Let them talk and then shut it down. And yun ang hindi nakikita ng tao. But that's the thing, Chris. You need to have cojones, right, to do this. You need a certain degree of audacity and strength of character and conviction. I mean, I did martial arts. I do yoga. I do all of these things to literally to be physically able to take all of this nonsense and attacks and death threats throughout the 6-7 years or so. In your case, what is your routine? I mean, you seem to be in a health buff kind of a fitness person, motivational coach. I mean, did that help you? Because yun nga, like, I know you're saying dapat mas nag-engage tayo, pero medyo kailangan mo rin ng kapal ng mukha, di ba? and
Yeah,
and strength of character.
Alam mo siguro, no, the reason di ako masyado naman talaga na-affect ng mga bashers is because meron akong paniniwala talaga that people are entitled to their opinion. And I really believe that I have no need to change your narrative of me or anything else. If you be like in your mind, I am the enemy, that's your mind and that's your life. Who am I to control your narrative or the movie in your mind? That's not my business, 'di ba? It's not. I have no need to do that. So when I was able to let go of that need, then I had a lot more respect for people's opinion. So when people have a different opinion, I just accept it as their opinion. As much as this is my opinion, that's theirs. And when I speak, I'm not trying to convince anyone to change their mind. I'm just speaking to let people know this is my opinion. Ikaw bahala what you decide to do with that opinion. And if that's why I don't mind debating with people is because of that. And I remember I did this vlog and I met this kid that's a BBM supporter, 21 years old na student. Sabi ko, okay lang ba sa'yo if we do a conversation? And sabi niya, okay lang. Sabi ko, kasi bihira ako makahanap ng BBM supporter that's willing to talk to me. He goes, yeah, okay. So we were talking. And when I was talking to him, I'm not combative normally in a conversation, actually. So I was just listening to him. And at the end of it, nakikita mo, he started to doubt himself and he couldn't even reason out why he was voting for BBM. And man, and then suddenly I found out he was INC. And then the INC, some of the leaders there wanted to talk to me. I'm like, whoa. And they wanted to debate with me.
Oh wow,
Ako,
that escalated fast.
yeah. But the thing was for me, people were remixing my video, challenging my perspective. I don't mind. I go do that. People were calling me stupid. I remember there's this very I forget who it was, yung mga sikat na vloggers, marami yan eh. Marami sikat na vloggers si Duterte at saka si BBM eh. So one of them said, talaga to si Chris, he was talking about inflation. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The US has high inflation. They borrow a lot of money. The debt to GDP ratio is higher, blah blah blah. And it's okay. And I was like, wow, so somebody says na that's a logical fallacy eh. Yung it's correct because everyone else is doing it. That's a logical fallacy. That's not a way to argue a point. I was like, but I will not try to debate that. But if he or she wanted to debate with me, I'd be more than happy to. But there was a part of me that did
You
not
mean the
want to.
whataboutism, no? I mean the whole whataboutism. What about
Yeah,
that? Bakit?
yeah,
Like, the two wrongs don't make it right. Like that's a fact.
right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I hear logic like that, I was like, wow, there's no point in debating with them. And I did not want to amplify these people. Kaya I didn't want to debate. Uh, they can amplify me because they're posting my videos. Go. But I did not want to debate with them because I think a person that's smart will understand which point was right and wrong. And that's all they just have to hear both sides and it's up to them to decide ano yung paniniwalaan
Mm.
nila.
But that's the point. Like you mentioned the importance of critical thinking. I think the other important C is compassion. I mean, why would we even bother to engage with some of our kababayan if we don't care about them, right? I mean, I know it might come off as patronizing, but it's only patronizing if you're there lecturing. If you're not
Yeah.
there actually listening. I mean, I come from, the north. I was born in Baguio, literally Marcos Highway almost. So you can imagine I'm surrounded with a lot of pro Marcos people. But I sit down there, we laugh, we make jokes, and then all of these inside jokes about Marcoses, etc. And then that's where you can have a conversation. Because if you come in and say, oh, gusto niya sa madanakaw, mga matay,
Right.
well, nothing's gonna happen, and they're gonna go like that. And then tapos nang usapan, you mutually cancel. So I learned from, not easy, but I learned from my own experience that the last way to start is to cancel each other. No. It has to come with a position of compassion and even a
Yeah.
degree of mutual respect. After all, hindi naman tanga that just because bumoto ka sa maling candidate. I mean, all of us do stupid things in life. And politics is not about IQ. It's about discernment. It's about judgment. It's about wisdom, for that matter.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I never thought that anyone who voted for BBM or Duterte was dumb. So that was the thing. So when I talk to them, that's why I think it doesn't come across that way because I don't really believe that. I think people that voted for Duterte truly believe that they were doing something good or it was just born out of a massive frustration. And I understand that frustration.
Exactly, the
You felt
frustration.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was I even know exactly that frustration because nga nung panahon nga ni Pinoy, Pinoy kasi came across unempathic. He was I remember the scene when I was so pissed when the Hong Kong tourists were on the bus, the hostage taker was there, and then the police came in and then started just shooting randomly and actually killed the tourists. It wasn't the hostage taker that killed them, it was the police because they were just shooting. And Pinoy on the mic on the press con, I remember that press con. He looked at the camera and he said with a smirk, he goes, "Shh, mas grabe nga naman yung sa Russia, mas marami namatay dun eh." I'm like, wow.
Nag-whataboutism din siya. Yeah, nag-whataboutism
Yeah,
siya.
yeah.
Yeah.
When he
Hey,
said
the
that, I
same
was
one
like,
Mama Sapano, diba? The same one Mama Sapano. The concern was, he should have gone there and embraced the
yeah,
families and all. He said something like, ayoko ng drama or something like that. I don't know how
yeah,
to. I had a conversation with the late president. This is just before pandemic, and essentially, I was telling him, the Philippines is not Germany; it's more like Italy, right? Because I heard from someone that mahilig siya sa German politics. I think yung idol niya is like Angela Merkel of Germany, that kind of rational,
oh,
reasonable,
yeah,
pragmatic leader, etc. So tuwan-tuwa siya sa German coalition politics. And I said, we are like Italy. We need a Berlusconi sometimes. You
right,
go, you hug people, you make fun, but do you also do your job, right? At the end of the day, we still
yeah,
have to build the Lamborghinis and Ferraris, right? So my point is, I think there was a lack of appreciation of the emotional moment of the emotional aspect of Philippine politics. Yeah. So, I think that was the problem. His role model was not applicable to the Philippines. Perhaps if he were in Sweden or a country like that, even Marojas, I would say the same thing. Medyo kulang sa, the empathy aspect. Just look at how
yeah.
Neta Rojas was trying to come up with it. And yung Pajak, I mean, like, with the Lacoste, like, are you kidding me? I mean, like, this, like, how
So
not to do presidential campaign? I don't know what on earth was going on there. Like from Pinoy to Mar Rojas, like, really something was going on.
yeah, there was a disconnect. They were not connecting with the people. Pero you know what? I'll tell you what was interesting. The very reason why Pinoy won is the same reason why Duterte won. Think about that, yung that statement. It's people never vote logically. They always vote emotionally and they justify it logically. Kasi pag tinignan mo, no, nung tumakbo si Pinoy, he didn't have the credentials eh. He didn't have the credentials. He was a lackluster congressman. I
And
believe he never,
senator, and
yeah, and a
senator,
senator with,
reluctant senator, yeah.
yeah, he was practically absent, didn't really get a lot of bills passed. He was a C student. Wala talaga. The only reason he won was the emotional side. The mother died. And everyone's like, okay, let's push him. So it's that same reason, lack of reasoning that may propelled Pinoy to win is the same reasoning or lack of it that propelled Duterte to win. And it was an outpouring of emotion. And people will justify that emotion. And I remember I would speak to my friends who were in Victory. I remember I had a friend who was in Victory na negosyante. And he was supporting Duterte. And I said to him, you're Christian, right? You agree with the killing? He goes, well, sabi niya, well, no, but pero kung masama naman sila, why not? And I'm like, well, you should just denounce your
Well,
religion.
nag-Old Testament siguro sila, yung
Oh, yeah,
in
sure. Di ba?
Leviticus and justify any kind of violence. I mean, we see, Jericho, you look at what was done to Jericho. Even the oxens were killed and massacred and all. I was just reading the verses the other day, yeah.
Yeah. And here's the irony. The irony is this. At first, they were saying that no, it wasn't Duterte killing people. It was the drug lords killing each other. And then eventually, now, pag tinignan mo yung mga bashers ngayon and trolls, it's so funny how they didn't realize. Now they're saying, oo, totoo, pumatay si Duterte. And then they'll say, sana sunod ka. And then they'll say, masama lahat yun. At least, tama yung ginagawa. And I'm like, wow, so you're actually admitting that you are supporting somebody who you know or you believe actually kills people. And you're okay with it. When 5 years ago, when he was still a president, you were saying, no, 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 it wasn't him. Ganun. So there was this transition from denial to acceptance to now actually even gloating and bragging about it. But they didn't realize they made that transition. That's the funny part. That by their comments, they're actually validating
Yeah, they're
why the
normalizing.
ICC should
Yeah.
come in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before we end, because I want to end on this episode on the very eloquent way you answered the rhetorical question I raised on who's the worst president in the Philippines. But before we just go to there, I mean, for me, um, there were a number of very good philosophical works, on the question of evil, and even controversial people like Jordan Peterson also said something like in every human being there's a dark side to it. I think it goes back
Mm,
to Solzhenitsyn, and because there are people who are against Duterte, they're against what Duterte did. But if you say, are you okay with the populist leader who goes and kills really corrupt leaders and drug lords? They'll say, maybe I'm okay with that, but just don't kill the poor innocent people. You know what I'm saying? Like there are levels to do that. It's not like either or. Because
yeah, yeah.
many people are so desperate that they want a better version of Duterte to kill the right people, if I can put it that way, which is of course a wrong way of putting it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, unfortunately, there's that kind of desperation to our politics because our judicial institutions have really not been delivering. Whatever administration you name me, we still have one of the highest pre-detainee trials, pre-trial detainees, sorry, one of the highest rates of miscarriages of justice, etc. So, my point is, it's not really an either or good or evil kind of situation. I think there are 50 shades of gray when it comes to that. But last point on this episode, before we transition to the next episode, and before I transition location, because may mga tao na dito. Wait. So who's the worst president and who's the best president on your in your books? I mean, again, everything's relative, right? We're not saying
Yep.
in the universe. We're just saying not in the soul, but maybe in the Philippines. Who's the worst and who's the best and why? Gusto natin fast talk to. Who's the worst? Let's
So,
start with who's the best muna. You want? Are you ready for the
wow.
best? Mas mahirap yun,
Um,
no? Actually,
mas
best.
mahirap yun eh.
Mas
Let's
mahirap
start
yun
with,
eh. But
yeah,
let's
mas
start
mabilis
easy.
yung,
Okay, let's start
yeah.
easy. Who's the worst president in Philippine history for you?
So, for me talaga, I think Duterte was the worst president kasi for so many reasons. Economically, look what he did with the doubling our debt, over doubling our debt in his last 2 years during the pandemic. And then not just that, people were dying from the pandemic, and yet he allowed his cronies, family, to be able to siphon off all that aid that he borrowed and were paying for. Today, our national debt is over 14 trillion because of Duterte. Tapos, yung pagka-corruption niya was gangster level corruption. And he was bragging about it to everyone, on top of the fact that he was killing everyone. You remember those vice mayors and mayors? May isa doon yung nagbabayang magilyo, ang mamatay man dahil sa'yo, boom, on the heart, dead. And sure,
Grabe,
let's
no?
say he was a
Parang
drug lord. Let's say he was whatever. I mean, for me, there is due process, and nobody said anything nung pinatay yung isang drug lord sa kulungan na sinabing na
Espinosa,
nanlaban daw.
Espinosa, yeah.
Si Espinosa, right? Because, he was a drug lord, right? Okay, I didn't say anything, to be honest with you. I was kind of, to be honest with you, I was a little bit like, yeah,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, bro.
exactly. There's a degree, right? But there were a lot of people that were innocent that were getting killed and going to jail because they just criticized him. De Lima was a perfect example. A lot of people. And this is where Duterte started to believe he was a god. And that's where the problem. That's why I would believe that he was the worst, because of the psyche, the belief that he was above everyone and that he has the authority and right to kill anyone that he wanted, even today, even when he's not a
Do you
president.
think that the word F, as in fascist, is one way of looking at it? Do you think that's one way? Because there's some people who say he was fascist. I mean, the cult of
Uh,
personality, the death squads, the violence, the glorification of violence, the demeaning of reason discussion, like those all ticks the boxes. If you look,
yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I would call him a fascist. Sure. So that was the worst one. Now, Marcos, for me, came in second because
This
senior.
is senior,
Because
right? Just to be clear, because
senior, yeah,
junior, we have
senior,
to give him some chance. He still has,
yeah.
years.
So senior comes in second to me because of how he inflated the economy. Oh my God, imagine mo yung national debt natin when he started in 1965 to the 1970s, it went from like a few hundred million to billions. And for a president to take about between 5 to 10 billion dollars in the 1970s and 80s, by today's standard, that's still a lot of money. Imagine back then.
Inflation
That would
adjusted, yeah.
Yeah, that would be like $100 billion to $200 billion. If you try to compute it to today's values, it's an insane amount, and people went into poverty. Before he went into, before he became president, the world the Philippines was one of the most progressive Asian countries, and then when he came in, it just continually deteriorated. But people forgot that for some reason. I don't know.
People remember
Galing.
people remember that he came on the tail end of the good days,
Uh,
which is when Asian Development Bank came in 1964, 65. But that's actually the beginning of the end, right?
Yeah, but they for some reason they think that it extended all the way till
Because
1986. It did
few
not.
people care to read about Makapagal or read about
Yeah.
Magsaysay a little bit better, like Bear. So like all presidents before Marcos are kind of like hazy characters, except probably Aguinaldo or Manuel Quezon. So I think Marcos just Karened everyone out of our imagination. Parang siya yung Karen. Let's call it Kevin. I just thought about the male version of Karen as a Kevin. He Kevin
Right.
his way out of Ken and Barbie. He Kevin his way out. So if you say glory days, people think 1960s Marcos pa rin, 1950s no. He came when tapos na yung good times.
Yep.
And the rest started. Yeah. And of
And
course the
remember,
human rights violations, obviously. You want to mention that. Yeah,
of course, adding that factor in, and the difference with Marcos was he was deliberate. But for me kasi so yung tanong lang ano ba yung mas masama, yung deliberate o yung paniniwala na I am a god and I can kill and I don't care about anyone or anything and I will do what I want. There's something eerily scary about and evil about a person that believes that. That's why I put Duterte on the top. So Marcos comes in second, and then Erap was third.
I could guess like, I think you're gonna say Erap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because with Erap, alam mo yung kay Erap, alam mo naalala ko when he won. Parang we were living in a gangland era where his kids were driving around with their convoys, doing whatever the hell they want.
Mexican style.
And then Erap wasn't even working. He would go to work at 4 p.m. He would gamble with his friends in the private, I know that private area here in San Juan that they would go to. And then it was just, he did not work. It was crazy. And the economy
Work is
suffered.
for the weak. The weak work.
Diba? It's like he was just plundering the money. And of course, we know what happened after that. Diba? When Chavit, knowing his ultimate demise, he was going to die, he was going to get killed, then spoke out against Erap, and then boom, all the dirt came out. So he's on my third.
I don't want to talk too much about Erap na naman yan. Matidepress na tayo. Okay, so what are your top three best? Not in any order. Again, relative terms.
So,
top
okay.
three
So,
na lang. Isipin mo lang, top three.
So the number three, I would say would be, this is hard. 3, 2, 1 is actually hard, to be honest with you. Kasi,
sige,
wow, they all have...
Don't rank it. Like, what are the top three presidents? Is it like Magsaysay, Manuel Quezon?
Wait. Are we talking pre-EDSA or are we talking...
I mean, if wala kang type dun sa mga iba, you can go all the way to Aguinaldo if you want. We're flexible.
I mean, I'd like to go as far as Aguinaldo, pero at the same time kasi, I don't have a comprehensive view of their accomplishments as much as I do about the current presidents from 1986 onward. So if I were to do 1986 onward lang, I would say, wow. So, ito na lang yung top 3 ko I would go in no particular order, GMA, Ramos, Pinoy. And I'll tell you why.
Kaya I pushed it back to 50s kasi mapilitan kayo pasok si GMA dyan.
No, I'm going to add GMA kasi you know what I know is ironic. I actually don't mind GMA. Because of the fact that she did work hard. She woke up early. She fixed the economy along with Mar Rojas, the BPO industries because of GMA's work.
Yeah,
a lot of the institutions and the things that you're seeing now is because of what GMA did during her time. Ramos naman during his time was able to create stability in the government, which was very much needed. And during his time was when Philippines was considered a tiger economy. And even when they borrowed, the GDP grew commensurate.
And
It was
dollar was like
relative.
26 pesos, right? Dollar was 26 pesos. I remember during Ramos' time, Vision 2000. He was kind of
Yeah.
like a hot tier Lee Kuan Yew when he would go around the region, etc. I
And
mean,
he was a
Arroyo,
statesman. He
yeah,
was a statesman. He was
very
very good.
smart people, both of them, Arroyo and Ramos. Although, of course, I would put Ramos way ahead.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And
and Pinoy, yes, right? You're the other one, yeah. You
so
think
yeah,
Pinoy was
so
better than Ramos or Arroyo? Obviously.
okay. So the reason I would say Pinoy did better, because economically he was the one who had the most sound economic principles, not because he was smart. He hired smart people. He inspired smart people to join the government, and that's what impressed me, that I did not see that was going to happen. And I was impressed at all the technocrats that decide, people from private sector that joined the government of Pinoy because they wanted to genuinely help. I was so impressed that, remember, during Pinoy's time, we had a budget surplus. And the national didn't go up. The national debt actually, I think it went down, if
As a
I
share of
remember
GDP.
correctly.
Yeah, as a share of
Yeah,
GDP. As a
it
share
was
of GDP.
amazing. It
Yeah.
was amazing what he was able to do with the economy. The only flaw that he had was he lacked empathy. He did not connect with people. But aside from that, what he did for the economy that progressed, what you see now with BGC and all of that, was because his government opened that all up. And it was also because of Arroyo coming in before that to lay the groundwork. Pinoy naman kept it to the next level, and all the foreign investments came on board with Pinoy's time.
Yeah,
So that's why I like
right.
him.
I mean, we can talk about the Mama Sapano, many failures here and there, like serious failures. I would say that that's why this is relative, guys. We didn't say he's the best president in this one.
Right.
We're just saying relative to other president, we can put him there at the best. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and also for me, it's about the feel good signaling to the international community, right? I mean, things written about the Philippines during Aquino time. Philippines was increasingly respected countries and a respectable country. And for me, that mattered because I dealt with investors, Wall Street. I dealt with international community, stood up to China. And that is going to be a next episode. Let's talk about China, West Philippine Sea, and being a Chinoy in this interesting times, if we can put it that way. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining us.
Thanks, Richard. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.